Working with the Brotherhood Without Banners, Thoros of Myr has a vision and repeats it to Arya Stark. The Lord granted me a view of Riverrun, an island in a sea of fire it seemed. The flames were leaping lions with long crimson claws, and how they roared. A sea of Lannisters, my lady. Riverrun will soon come under attack. Here, Thoros seems to have a vision foreseeing the Lannister siege of Riverrun. Beyond the wall, Mother Mole, a woods witch and a wildling woman, claims to have a vision. Hundreds more went off with the woods witch who'd had a vision of a fleet of ships coming to carry the free folk south. We must seek the sea, cried Mother Mole, and her followers turned east. She had a vision of a fleet of ships arriving to carry the free folk to safety across the narrow sea. Thousands of those who left the battle were desperate enough to believe her. With these visions, Mother Mole is able to convince thousands of wildlings to follow her to the eastern shore. There they await salvation, but thus far only slave ships from across the narrow sea had come, taking in many wildlings as captives and carrying them into slavery. While this is not true salvation, it may be the fulfillment of Mother Mole's prophecy, meaning no more rescue will come, and the wildlings of Hardhome are doomed to die. When they had first come to King's Landing, she used to have bad dreams about getting lost in the castle. Father said the Red Castle was smaller than Winterfell, but in her dreams it had been immense. An endless stone maze with walls that seemed to shift and change behind her. She would find herself wandering down gloomy halls past faded tapestries, descending endless circular stairs, darting through courtyards or over bridges, her shouts echoing unanswered. In some of the rooms, the red stone walls would seem to drip blood, and nowhere could she find a window. Sometimes she would hear her father's voice, but always from a long way off, and no matter how hard she ran after it, it would grow fainter and fainter, until it faded to nothing, and Arya was alone in the dark. This may represent the capture of her father and the slaughter of his men in the Red Keep, after which Arya will go down a solitary path, unsure of where she will end up. It may even foretell of her journey throughout Westeros, attempting to march north, but ending up on a ship to Braavos, a destination she had not planned, unsure of what the future will hold. In that one, she was always looking for her mother, stumbling through a wasted land of mud and blood and fire. It was always raining in that dream, and she could hear her mother screaming, but a monster with a dog's head would not let her go and save her. This seems to represent the Red Wedding, with Arya hearing her mother's screams, and the hound Sandor Clegane preventing her from running in. Rickon, Bran said softly. Father's not here. Yes, he is. I saw him. Tears glistened on Rickon's face. I saw him last night. In your dreams? Rickon nodded. You leave him be. You leave him be. He's coming home now. Like he promised. He's coming home. This seems to indicate that, like his siblings, Rickon is experiencing possible prophetic dreams, and he may have spoken to the spirit of Ned Stark, similar to Bran, who also spoke to his deceased father in a dream. I had bad dreams about the dragons. They were coming to eat me. While this may simply have been a nightmare of Princess Shireen, it may also be a foretelling, perhaps of the stone dragon Melisandre will attempt to awaken, perhaps with the sacrifice of Shireen. That night, he dreamed of the feast Ned Stark had thrown when King Robert came to Winterfell. The hall rang with music and laughter, though the cold winds were rising outside. Suddenly, the wine turned bitter in his mouth, and when he looked up from his cup, he saw he was dining with the dead. King Robert sat with his guts spilling out on the table from the great gash in his belly, and Lord Eddard was headless beside him. Corpses lined the benches below. Gray-brown flesh sodded off their bones as they raised their cups to toast, worms crawling in and out of the holes that were their eyes. But there were others with faces he had never known in life, faces he had only seen in stone. The slim, sad girl, who wore a crown of pale blue roses and a white gown spattered with gore, could only be Lyanna. Her brother Brandon stood beside her, and her father Lord Rickard just behind. And then the tall doors opened with a crash, and a freezing gale blew down the hall, and Robb came walking out of the night. Grey Wind stalked beside, eyes burning, and man and wolf alike bled from 100 savage wounds. This seems to symbolize Robb Stark and Grey Wind joining the Feast of the Dead after the massacre of the Red Wedding.